want you to picture.
Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate your attendance. As you know, we continued our meeting from last time. So Brittany didn't do tonight.
I know.
Brittany, so we
I've cleared my schedule for you guys.
had something to do, so we continued several items from last meeting that we need more time for, and we appreciate you guys being here. We did public comment last meeting, but I'd always like to open that up and ask if anybody had anything they want to say. Is there anything, anybody here that would like to speak to the board? Mr. Lamb, I see you back there.
Yeah. I can do it here. Is that all right?
Need to come up here. He had mentioned it. And anybody else that wants to say something, we'll certainly give you time to do that. So.
Well, I just appreciate y'all listening to me. I've been a resident of Macon County ever since I was born. I was born and raised right here, and I just came with strong support for the Recreation Department, what has been on the table to be voted on, and really hope that you guys consider it, because for anybody who hasn't coached a Little League softball or baseball team or officiated, you don't know what it's like to try to find fields for these kids to practice on and do that kind of thing. And it's more than just about sports. It's about keeping kids with something to do other than substance abuse and things of that nature. I mean, it all revolves into activities that's going to be positive in the community. And you know, my kids play travel ball, and every time we go away on a weekend, we're always spending $300 or $400. It seems like all the time if we're doing travel ball. And we always have to go to Cherokee, we have to go to Murphy, we go to other places there. And you know, I'd read in the paper where one of the tournament directors said they would love to come here. That was only one. And I've talked to several that say we would love to come to Macon County because it's right in the epicenter of everything. We can draw people from Tennessee, from Georgia, from North Carolina, and all other places around. And so I just really appreciate it if y'all would really consider it, because I think it'd be great for our community, great for our kids. Because as far as I know, this rec park hadn't had anything done to it since I've been alive. I mean, I was born in '74, and I don't know of anything that's been done meaningful other than the pool that was done here recently. And we've seen what revenue that has created already. So it's really great. And I'm excited for the kids. I'm excited for our community. So thank you.
I don't put words in your mouth, so we're speaking to, we're committed to go ahead with the part of this, which is 2 ball fields, soccer field.
Right.
Are you speaking to proceeding with that, proceeding with the entire project?
Entire project. The reason why I say the entire project is because you're not going to pull any tournaments, you know, that we were talking about. 2 fields is not going to cut it as far as tournament directors and that kind of thing. And 2 fields really is not going to help us a whole lot. It'll help us some, but you know, if you go with 8 right off the bat, the last tournament my girls went to, we went with some of the guys around here. There was 16 teams in this tournament in Johnson City, and 16 teams with an average of 12 to 13 kids, and usually they got 1 or 2 parents there, and there's usually siblings and whatnot. And it was a 2-day tournament, and so it was some big time money there, and there was a lot of kids, a lot of things going on. In Johnson City, if you ever get a chance to look at a rec park, they've got it going on. I mean, they had 8 different fields, 2 different football fields, and there was stuff all over the place, and it's busy every single weekend. I was speaking to one of their board members that they had there, and they were explaining to me that they don't do any rec league balls in the weekends at all, because it's all just travel balls, and it's adult and Little League as well. So yeah, it's really great. And even Clayton, they've had a big influx of tournaments and stuff that happen there. We've been invited, our Little League's been invited there for the last couple of years, and they don't want to come up here because girls, if you've ever watched girls, we had almost 200 girls in Little League softball last year alone, and we shared 1 field. And that is tough. I mean, and Justin Moffitt and Seth, they do a great job of trying to squeeze as many games as we can, but there's not many parents want an 8:30, 9 o'clock ball game through the week when school's out. So having more fields would be tremendous. And I just appreciate the time y'all gave me to talk. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Lamb asked about speaking tonight. Anybody else? Anybody else want to speak?
Hey, Andy.
Okay.
I already gave you a handout. I wanted to tell you guys about an event that we're planning that the county is actually helping out with, so you guys might want to know about it. We're doing a car seat safety event, and it's being planned for April right now. There's not really any events like this west of Asheville like everything else in the world, so I got the idea because when Turner, my son, was 7 months old, I realized I found an article online that was saying I was installing his car seat incorrectly. And I thought I was doing everything right. It turned out I was doing several things wrong, and it's like just really dangerous. And so I started doing more research, and I got in touch with local law enforcement, so the Sheriff's Office and Franklin Police Department and Hines Police Department, the Macon County Health Department, and we contacted Safe Kids North Carolina and Angel Medical Center. And those are kind of like the big players that are helping put the event on. And it's a completely free event to people in the community. And we have, I think so far we have maybe 25 local businesses who have all signed on to offer 10% discounts to families who participate in the event. All you have to do is come and to get your car seat checked. We'll have certified checkers that check the car seats to make sure they're installed correctly, they're not on a recall list, they fit the child. Because by law, children have to be in a car seat until they're 8 years old. And a lot of people don't realize that. So we'll have checkers that check to make sure they're in the right kind of car seat, it's installed correctly for the vehicle, because not every car seat fits every vehicle. We'll have car seats on hand to give out in case the car seats are wrong. We'll have MPP is working with us, and they've got a $350 car seat. It blows my mind it can cost that much, but it can. A $350 car seat to raffle off. Fontana Village Resort has also given us a 2-night stay at their lodge to raffle off as well, just to encourage parents to come out. There's free food and lots of other really great things. It's a really good community effort, and there's lots of different organizations involved, and the health department has certified checkers that will be there as well. So I just wanted to let you guys know. And I know some of you are business owners, so if you want to find out ways you can help, just let me know. I'll be glad to tell you. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Brittany. Anybody else want to speak to board and public comment? Sir, come up here.
My name is Blitz Gene. I was here last week and spoke to you about it. The Parker Meadows thing, I just wanted to reiterate one more time, hopefully, maybe to urge anybody who's not in favor of this. And I know I brought a prop last week, and I grabbed the wrong one, and I got to counting on it, and it was only 30, so I just brought you the other one. I meant to bring it, had 55 teams on there. That was held in Canton. It was last summer. And if you do the math, I mean, I'm not very good at it, but that's roughly 1,500 people came to Canton that weekend for this tournament. And I know me personally, we spend a fortune doing that. We spend an average of probably $400 to $500 a weekend. So I figure most people do that too, and we spend it all in Canton. So if you take 1,500 people and multiply that by, I just wanted to hope that y'all would support that and do it in a way that Macon County can not have it just a hole that we're throwing money in. Maybe we can get a way to dig some of the money back out of the hole if we do it right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Butch. Anybody else? Last call. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one thing I'd like to add to the agenda, if at all possible.
Yes, sir.
We'll consent. You have in front of you an application, we talked about the appointment to, this is to the MPP Apartments and Orchards Department Board. I told you I have this last week, but we did not have it ready. And so we have it tonight, and this board really needs to meet, and we'll talk more about it, whatever you want to put on the agenda.
Okay. Any objection to add that to the agenda? This will be added there. We'll make that, actually make that item number 8, if it's okay, and then we'll move to closed session. Dan, do we have a need for a closed session this morning? Yes, sir. We do. Okay. We'll make closed session number 9. Anything else to add or delete from the agenda? Gentlemen, if not, Lori, I think we have the audit report from Martin Starks and Associates. You want to speak to that? Introduce her again?
I'll introduce, tonight we have with us Cocaine Child Moses with Mark Starks and Associates. and she will be presenting the results of our 2013 annual financial report. So, good night.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Here comes your monitors on. So, that's just sliding through. Of course, it's on the big monitors real quick.
And thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us to continue serving as your auditor. As Lori said, I'm Coteen Moses with Martin Starnes and Associates. I'm one of the audit managers, and I've actually been out here to Macon for the last 6 years with the audit. I wanted to remind you, this is for 2013 audit, so fiscal year 2013 ending June 30th, 2013. I do apologize for the timing of this presentation. I just wanted to let you know that even though it's February, we did have this audit complete, and we had issued our report back in October of last year. So for the fiscal year 13, we issued an unmodified opinion, and that means that we found no material misstatements that led us to believe that the financial statements would be misleading to the readers. It is the best opinion that we can give anybody, so it just means that you passed the audit. And you might have seen unmodified opinion as unqualified in the prior years, but last year we had some new standards that changed some wording, and so now instead of unqualified opinion, we go with unmodified opinion. We enjoy working with Lori and her staff, and they are pleasant to work with, and they're very cooperative with our audit. We're going to be mostly speaking about the general fund. So just a general fund wrap up, or just a quick summary, a snapshot of general fund at 6/30/2013. There was a decrease in fund balance of $752,787. And this decrease in fund balance, it includes other financing sources and uses, such as your transfers out to other funds and transfers in, as well as long-term debt that was issued. So we see an overall fund balance decrease of 3.5%. If you guys look at the audit report, you'll see that there was actually an increase. Total revenues exceeded total expenditures by $3 million, but then after we factor in the other financing sources and uses, it left with a decrease in fund balance. Just for example, there's a transfer out to other funds of $4.2 million, and this is probably where you're transferring money out to the debt service fund. And then long-term debt issued last year was $374,000. Transfers in from other funds was about $100,000. So fund balance, it serves as a measure of the county's financial resources available. And if you look at this equation, it's a little bit different from prior years. Again, due to new standards, there are two new classifications called deferred inflows and deferred outflows. So now you're looking at assets minus your liabilities minus your deferred inflows of resources will equal your fund balance or your net position. And nothing really changes, even though this equation changes. All we did was reclass some of your assets and liabilities into deferred inflows and outflows, just because they're not current available resources. And again, that's due to some new standards that we had. The county does not have any deferred outflows, but they do have a few things that qualify as deferred inflows, such as taxes receivable, prepaid taxes, and other receivables, which include your ambulance and your public health receivables. And then prior year, in 2012, we had fund balance split into 5 different classifications. So I just wanted to list the 5 down there for you to look at, just as a reminder of the different types of fund balance classifications within the general fund. So for how the county looks at 2013, we have non-spendable fund balance of $311,383, restricted of $5.3 million. Committed, the county did not have any committed fund balance at the end of 6/30/12. Assigned fund balance was $2.1 million, which was appropriated for subsequent years' expenditures, and the unassigned fund balance was $12,842,335. So fund balance, it is defined by the local government commission as total fund balance minus your non-spendable fund balance, less your stabilization by state statute. That'll give you available fund balance. And this is important because this is what is calculated by the LGC, the local government commission, to utilize as the basis for comparing you with other units and calculating your fund balance percentages. So for the county, available fund balance at the end of 2013 was $15,274,085, and you have non-spendable fund balance at the end of $311,000, which includes inventory and prepaid items. So this decrease in available fund balance from prior years due to an increase in your stabilization by state statute. So what affects that number is your accounts receivable at the end of the year.
So what we think of is, go back one screen just to clarify.
Sure.
What we think of as fund balance, which is unrestricted, undesignated fund balance, is the 15.2.
Yes, the unavailable fund balance that's available for appropriation is the $15,274,000.
Not 20 million.
Correct. And actually, the way that the local government commission calculates available fund balance, it does not take into consideration your any assigned or committed fund balance or any other restrictions other than stabilization by state statute. So you made this $15,274,000 if you have already, committed fund balance or assigned fund balance. It is not included, so you would have to take those portions out of this available fund balance.
Which we did include some fund balance in our budget.
The 2.1 million she mentioned, that was assigned, that was
Right.
appropriated for her.
And that is, you'd still have to take that out of the $15 million.
As far as, to answer your question, as far as what the LGC looks at is that 15.2. And they compare us to other units, they look at that number.
Yeah, and the reason for that is you're able to, not the subsequent expenditures, but like your unassigned and committed fund balance, you as the commissioners can unappropriate those funds. And so if it's unappropriated, if you can unappropriate it, then they consider it available.
It's available fund balance.
Is the stabilization, was that a change in the percentage that you must have by statute? What was the change in stabilization?
It depends. Well, the main part of the stabilization by state statute is your accounts receivable at the end of the year. So if you haven't received those funds, because it's sitting in accounts receivable, then, and that's going to fluctuate.
It's usually the state that's late. That's the only problem with that.
That is true.
That's
That
right.
could be true. Any other questions on that slide? So this is what Macon County looks like the last 2 years as a percentage. And again, this is one of those where the LGC, the local government commission, will look at your percentages versus others. And if you get below the 8%, then you'll get a unit letter telling you that you need to work on your fund balance. So there was an overall decrease of 9.25% in available fund balance, but you're still at the 33%, which is still above the 8% that they require. So, and the reason why they use 8% as a threshold, approximately a month's worth of expenses. And so they like you to keep at least a month worth of expenses in your fund balance to take care of stuff.
I know this changes from year to year, but I've looked across the 100 counties, and the average appears to be somewhere between 15 and 20%. Is that still about?
I don't know if that is the state average, but I do see that some of our clients are right between 15 and 20%.
So we're still, even at 33, we're still a little higher.
Right. And I was going to let you know that that's about a little bit more than 4 months worth of fund balance. So I don't see that you're going to have a letter from the LGC anytime soon unless you expect to spend that down or something to that effect. Okay, and so your general fund summary as compared to prior year, these numbers up here, they do include other financing sources and uses. So after you factor in your transfers in, transfers out, your debt issuance, this is what the general fund looks like at the end of 6/30/2013. So your revenues increased 2% from prior year, and the largest increase was in restricted intergovernmental revenues, and that's where your grants sit in that line. So for last year, you guys had that community transformation grant, so that brought your revenues up a little bit. Expenditures also increased about almost 9%. Some of the largest increases were within the functions of public safety, human services, and culture and recreation. And we'll talk about public safety and human services a little bit more in detail in an upcoming slide, but the increase in culture and recreation was due to capital outlay expenditures relating to the projects with the recreation parks, the pool, and the pool house renovations. So the top 3 revenues for the general fund consists of ad valorem taxes, restricted intergovernmental, again, that's where your grants sit, and your local option sales tax. The top 3, those 3 revenues total about $40,500,000 for the county. We see a little bit of an increase in your ad valorem taxes from prior year, less than 1%, and this is probably better to, this is due to better collections in the current year, and the levy was also up a little bit from the prior year. So your collection rate for 2013 was 96.42%, and 2012 it was 96.38%. So you saw a slight increase of 0.04% in your collections. Restricted intergovernmental, there's an increase of 7%. And again, that relates to that community transformation grant that you had in 2013 and you did not have the full grant in 2012. The local option sales tax increased about 2.5%. It's not a huge increase, but just wanted to mention that Article 39, 1% tax revenue increased the most in this line.
We based it on that 1.5% increase. Sales tax a little better.
Right.
What's going to be
Not yet. And then the top 3 expenditures, top 3 areas where your expenditures were in the general fund include public safety, human services, and education. And the top 3 total about $30,691,000, which is about 73% of your total expenditures. So in public safety, we saw an increase of about $1.5 million, and that was about 15%. Some of the things that went on in public safety include the EMS department having an increase in capital outlay purchases that included 2 ambulances. The jail law enforcement center increase in the operating expenditures. Food services increase to account for an increase in the inmate population. Medical treatment costs increased due to the county handling 3 special medical cases for inmates in 2013. There was also an increase in the sheriff's department due to capital outlay purchases such as vehicles and furniture. And then the human services, we saw an increase of about $1.1 million, 11.8%. Social services department had increases in the Medicaid program and operating expenditures for administration lines. And then the health department had increases in the adult dental health as well as the NC transformation grant lines. So again, where you see revenues increase for that grant, you also saw expenditures increasing. There were due to relocation expenses in a staff position that was vacant in 2012, expenditures for adult dental health increased. So for education, increased about $210,000, so 2.6%. The line with the largest increase was the public schools current expenditure line. And then education expenditures within the capital project fund saw a decrease of about $4.8 million or 58%. In 2012, you guys have all those expenditures related to the Iola Valley K-5 project. In 2013, I think it closed in 2012, so you didn't see those expenditures in 2013. Some of the projects that were included in the 2013 number include expenditures for you still had a little bit of the Iola Valley K-5 project, Nantahala renovations, the Keys Ave project, school technology expenses, and the Highlands Keys app project. So here, this is a quick summary for the solid waste, the enterprise fund. You see the cash basis net income and the unrestricted net position increased over the prior year. I just wanted to note that the cash basis net income, it does not include items such as depreciation, changes in post-closure costs and other post-employment benefits. And those are the items that take your financial statements from modified accrual basis to full accrual basis. But the cash basis net income does include your capital outlay and your debt service payments. So current year is higher than the prior year due to less capital outlay purchases and less debt service in the current year. And I would probably expect to see that a little bit less again this year since less expenditures than debt services, the debt was paid off at the end of 6/30/13. And then your cash flows from operations decreased from prior year. A combination of more cash paid for goods and services and less other operating revenues in the current year caused the decrease. And here, your unrestricted net position is like the available fund balance in the general fund. So for the solid waste, your unrestricted net position is what you can appropriate in the landfill fund. And the increase is just due to the overall increase in net position. So in summary, I'd like to let you know that if you would like to read the management's discussion and analysis, which starts on page 12 of our audit report, it'll give you some more details of some of the stuff that we went over. And it'll also give you a look forward to the 2014 budget highlights, which I'm sure you guys already know, but it's also mentioned in the MD&A. If you guys should have any questions, I went through these pretty quick. After I leave, just let me know, or Lori has my contact information. Otherwise, does anybody have any other questions at this time?
Any questions, comments? Thank you for being here. Lord, anything else? Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. We are considering the contract with CenturyLink, which is David Keys here, and also our manager today.
This is the contract that we mentioned last week when we were here, and we now have physical copies in front of you. I think y'all about to know that. We've been asked for your signature and approval on each of the contracts that are available to you. If you have any questions, I will try my best to answer. Or I will refer to council.
Chester, anything to add to that?
No, I think we finally got our contract in form that we like to see it, and recommend moving forward.
Has CenturyLink agreed?
They have actually been producing the various drafts, and so I cannot comprehend that they would have a problem with that. They produced this last night.
And each one of the copies I have, they've actually stamped it with their seal of approval.
Mr. Lee Cadet has indicated that he, if the board should approve this, he would like for it to be signed, scanned, and emailed to him so he can get started.
How long will it take to do all this? I know it's in the spreadsheet, I didn't bring mine, so I understand it from work, but per diem, demand days. Have you got it?
Not familiar with what you're talking. They will be done within the deadline of our June 15th date. They have the manpower and the man force to come in and in theory do it in 90 days. We would prefer them to take their time and do it right the first time than to rush in and do it in 90 days. But they will be able to get it done within the deadline.
But they're getting paid for per diem and all that.
Well, they're going to get, I mean, our expenses will not be increased by what the contract says, no matter how long it takes.
approve the contract.
Second.
That would be authorized chairman to sign.
So that's part of your motion. Yes, sir. We have a motion second to approve as presented. Any discussion?
Do you know how long, once it's signed, do they tell us when they can start?
I think they've been pretty much ready to go. They just need to get this part of it done, is my understanding.
They'll start immediately.
Indeed, I think that's the reason they wanted it scanned and emailed, so they could expedite it.
Can we look for a moment?
Okay. Motion second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. David, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I think, I didn't sign up for the public comment, but I would like to make one comment.
Sure.
And it's a kudos to the citizens of Macon County through the storm that we just came through. I wanted to thank them for heeding our warnings, listening to the media, preparing for the storm. We went off without a hitch. There was a few power outages, but nothing major. And I'd just like to thank everybody for what they did, stayed off the roads, kept it safe so everybody could come home safe. So,
They appreciate what your folks did, and of course, we declared the state of emergency, which was done ahead of time, which I think that was proactive.
unfortunately, we did not need to use it.
It didn't need it, that's right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. County Attorney, we had talked about last meeting, the Veterans Transportation Project, which is making the way Cherokee and Swain counties. Ms. Angel is here. Angel.
State of Franklin, not Swain County. The state of Franklin.
Okay.
Be careful about that.
What's that?
It's located in Swain.
The state of Franklin. I think that the board had some questions last week, had not really had an opportunity to look over what Mr. Jones had gotten prepared. We had worked kind of back and forth for a period of time on this, so I hope you had an opportunity to look over it since he's shared that with you. One of the questions, the last question, just before I left you, the one last week was kind of, what is this going to do for us? So I did give to you tonight a list of some potential benefits for this program, so I hope you have an opportunity to look at that. Just a few things here, if I can just read through them. Just these are things that we're going to need the board to take action on. First and foremost, this process was not an actual formal bid process. It was under the general statute 143, 129.8. We're allowed to use a request for proposal for this type of project, and that's how we did that, because it was for the purchase of information technology and goods. So what we're asking that you take action on, based on the fact that I worked with a committee and we have determined that this vendor has experience in this particular type of project. This vendor has presented a good proposal, and I have been basically the go-to person, the lead, and between myself and the committee, find that it's in the best interest of and the best overall proposal, considering the factors given to be considered in awarding the contract. So the action that we're asking for, and if you want me just to read through these, there are several of them, and then at that point you can choose to take action. Wonderful. That the board ratify the use of the RFP procedure under General Statute 143, 129.8 for this Veterans Transportation Project. That the board determine that the proposal from HB Software Solutions is the best overall proposal for the Veterans Transportation Project. That the board award the contract on such request for proposal unto HB Software Solutions, subject to the express condition that the proposed interlocal agreement and contract for the Sonic Vet Southwestern North Carolina one-call, one-click center for Veterans Transportation Project in Macon County, Clay County, Cherokee County, and Swain County is duly approved and executed by all parties thereto, and that the board authorize me, started to read my name, to negotiate with HB Software Solutions in order to obtain a final contract that meets the best interest of the county, subject to the approval of the county manager and the county attorney. And finally, that the board authorize the county manager to execute such final contract with HB Software Solutions that's negotiated by myself in order to meet the best interest of the county.
Jim, could you give the commissioners the amount of the proposal that you actually received, that you're recommending?
I can.
I think that is something. that
It's
they need to
actually
know.
written into that interlocal agreement, but I'll be glad to share that. Sure, I know.
You actually got a proposal that was less than what they contemplated at the state that this project cost, if I'm recalling correctly, roughly about 100,000 less.
When we submitted the budget for the proposal to the, for the grant, it was about 574,000. This has come in about $459,873.
So that's the area that you would be looking at a contract on. There's 80% grant on that. And then the participating amount from each of the parties to the interlocal agreement will take up the balance.
Actually, I think we're going to have to correct that. I may have been looking at the wrong sheet.
With the addition of the habits. The cost share is correct.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
This is the total, the actual, and we have 14. Or no, we took this off.
Never mind. I'm sorry. I've never done a grant, I'll explain my stupidity, that includes an in-kind match, so it does not include it. So, as Chester put in there, because we've discussed this, $459,873 was the total amount that came in.
And then the total amount of matching from these four counties.
Is 20%. Which
Why are they
includes,
calling it that?
because it is targeted for veterans transportation. That's the primary purpose of this grant, is to improve access to transportation for veterans. And this grant is funded through FTA and the National Veterans, or whatever the veterans. at the federal level.
Priority that they're seeking to define.
It's a multi-agency at the federal level coordination, trying to get access. What's happening, I think what brought a lot of this about is you've got a lot of veterans who are coming back who they don't have the access to schools and healthcare and don't realize the resources that are available in the community. So this allows us to go to the veteran services agencies, the veterans groups, the veterans hospitals, and say, look, this is available. You can go to the website and we can bring the veterans to you for these services.
But the grant is just for the computer, the hardware,
It is
or
only,
software.
yes, it's only for the technology portion. It does not pay for the actual cost.
Which could stimulate additional cost in transportation.
It can
Increase
stimulate
use.
additional transportation requests, but we're already going to most of those places they'll be requesting anyway. We go to S6C, we go to the VA, we go to the healthcare facilities. So basically, it could generate additional ridership, but not so much as generating additional cost to provide those rides, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
and the other thing is, as we talked about last week, is this allows us to coordinate with other counties. So, and I think Chester explained it very well last week. Instead of 4 vehicles going, we can have 1 or 2 going to reduce the cost.
And then the ongoing cost after this year, what the next year costs us.
The first year after the project is implemented, all of the costs are included. After that is a cost of hosting, for the servers because it's a web-based program. So there's a hosting cost and there'll be data costs associated with the tablets. I do, but I don't have them right in front of me. Roughly somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 a year per system. You know, we're already spending $3,500 or so a year on hosting fees for our software as it exists now. So this is like going from a Yugo to going to a Cadillac Escalade as far as being able to provide services through technology and utilizing technology.
But this system replaces your current stuff.
It does. It actually, this vendor that we have chosen is the vendor that I currently use. So this is actually an enhancement and upgrade to what I'm getting. The other 3 counties have nothing.
And I mentioned on that, all of them's got to sign on before this can go, right? All 4 counties.
In order for this to work, we all have to sign on, yes.
So when will we know if that happens?
Clay County will meet not later than March 6th. They may hold a special meeting. I wanted to make sure that this comes through my board as the lead agency first. Cherokee County their Board of Commissioners meeting is March 3rd. She meets with her board with the state of Franklin sometime in the next week or 2. So she had said she would have that to me before the end of this month, before the end of February. So, and I think, did you tell me the 5th and the 6th of March? If Clay County doesn't hold a special meeting.
First Thursday.
So it's the 5th and the 6th of March. So within the next 3 weeks, we'll all have. But everybody's already got this budgeted. When I brought this to you to apply for it, the project itself was approved. So this is kind of moving into the contract phase and how we're all going to work together, because this is not something we just created. We've been working on this for the last couple of years. Absolutely. You know, there's the potential. The way the request for proposal was written, there is a potential for other counties to come in. Jackson County is interested, but they did not have any money budgeted currently. But I'm going to meet with them in the middle of March. And if Jackson County Commissioners choose to come into this program, which they're very interested in the coordination part, that can reduce our cost again. The share, the amount of share that we will have to come up with, as well as the annual fees for the hosting.
In order to accomplish that, we would have to be approved at the state level, and furthermore, there be a small modification that we proposed, and those the parties to that.
So the paragraph that was removed, and I was having heartburn over it, it just went away and nobody had no problem with that?
Yeah, I think basically what we did is we went back and sharpened the pencil since we had the benefit of the number. What we did is we took that formula out because we know what our cost is.
Right.
And so we just worked with the actual cost.
Questions, motion?
What's actually, what that, I was thinking, $20,000 more.
Less than 20. The way the interlocal agreement is written right now, it's around 18,000. And again, the more partners we can bring in, the better off we're all going to be.
I think they asked last week, and you can answer it again, if you paid it, I'm sorry. As far as bringing more burden to your department as lead agency, I think you said that you were well equipped to handle it.
And my staff is fully aware, of of this. They are very supportive of this project, so they're willing to do whatever. And the long-term goal, if you look at your benefits, is that it will decrease the amount of staff time that's being utilized for data entry, and answering some of the phone calls, whereas they will be able to concentrate more on increasing the ridership and talking to the passengers for education purposes as to what we can provide in transportation services.
Speaking of the counties, you will not have a problem with them trying to knock out something. I think they can't wait. So.
They have not experienced, yes. And we saw Jackson County Transit's manifest today, and they're still handwriting their manifests. So I think getting partners is once they see everything they get. You know, we paid $45,000 just for the scheduling billing software, and for $18,000, they're getting the Cadillac Escalade. So you know.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
You have a resolution in front of you, as well as a letter from myself addressed to the commissioners, advising and reminding that, of course, I prepared the local grant, and reminding that I do work with both Macon County and Clayton.
That's your disclosure.
Is the resolution separate from the?
It will be.
Okay.
So what we need to approve?
I think first, she read out a list of things that I helped draft that need to be approved. And if the board is in agreement with that, a motion to approve those items that she read out.
We'll read those items again.
I'll be glad to. First one is that the board ratify the use of the RFP procedure under General Statute 143-129.8 for this project. Next is that the board determined that the proposal from HB Software Solutions is the best overall proposal for the Veterans Transportation Project, which is what I recommended. That the board award the contract on such request for proposal and to HB Software Solutions, subject to the express condition that the proposed interlocal agreement and contract for the Sonic Vet Southwestern North Carolina One Call, One Click Center for Veterans Transportation, I'll read it as well the second time, in Macon County, Clay County, Cherokee, and Swain County, North Carolina is duly approved and executed by all parties thereto. And that the board authorize Kim Angel to negotiate with HB Software Solutions in order to obtain a final contract that meets the best interests of the county, subject to the approval of the county manager and county attorney. And that the board authorize the county manager to execute such final contract with HB Software Solutions in order to meet the best interests of the county.
Again, that would be subject to that number that she provided you, which was the proposal.
Last question, when would you need the county portion of the money?
It's in my budget.
Oh, it's already in.
It's budgeted, and it's set up such that when the county is approved their interlocal agreements, they send us a check for their portion.
So it's exactly.
We hope to have the money in March from all the counties.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the items as outlined by the transit director. And I think this adds that we are the leader in a lot of things in this region, including the fact that you will be chosen to the leader party here. So we'll make the motion that we approve those items as listed. And anything else they add in that gesture?
As to this phase, no, sir.
And as to this phase, no.
Do we have a second to the motion? We have a motion and the second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Ms. Angel, thank you.
Now we need the resolution.
Good luck.
We're not done.
Chairman Corbett did those other two pieces.
We did, yeah. We passed the resolution as presented to you. That information has been plugged in there as requested. Any questions about that or a motion to approve resolution to be made?
Can I just ask one quick question?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, Ron, go ahead and get a second on Ron.
Okay, a motion to approve, do you have a second? We have a second, now discussion.
If another county does come on board, King, does it have to come back before this board, or do you have the authority? I was confused when I read that.
It will need to come back before this board.
Okay.
Indeed, it has to come back before the board on all four of those.
If like the Jackson County does come on board, it has to come back through the whole process.
Everybody's got to be happy with adding a new party.
Everybody's got to be happy with spending less money.
Okay. Understood.
We have a motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Is that it, Chester?
That's it on that item. I think you've got the resolution as well as the letter.
Okay. That was resolution.
You got the resolution?
Yeah.
That was
That's
it.
Then you need to approve the signing of the letter.
We need a motion to approve the letter.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 5 West Main Street. Okay, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, King.
Take me a week to back up and move out of here.
Gentlemen, we tabled and or continued the discussion on the Park and Meadows recreational facility. We had some other questions Commissioner Heaton had asked about some maintenance issues, I think, Seth, which I think we concurred that we wanted that information on. We had also asked, I had mentioned about that if, and I expressed that I felt like if we proceed with this, we should proceed with the entire project for reasons that were said last meeting. And I'd asked about fund balance and where that stood, and I think Commissioner Haven also expressed interest in knowing about fund balance. So with that, we postponed any kind of action or discussion on this, further discussion tonight. So Seth, we recognize you. Did you find out about the first issue, the maintenance of the other fields, the school fields, county fields?
Yeah, Justin Moffitt's here to give you all a presentation on what is needed at the other fields to update those.
Okay. Mr. Moffitt?
As a board requesting, this is a budget here, that you just come up with, feel confident in regards to this budget for our local school fields. So as you can see there, there's 4 fields there that we have considered to improve. Starting at the top there, Cali School, of course, we know that's county maintained now. We're all aware of that. Moving down, South Macon Upper Field, of course, that's South Macon School. The upper field is in desperate need of some work. We understand that. And you can see, most of these apply to every field that we have in our school facilities. We're asking that we could grade those fields accordingly. The actual field and the outside of the fields for help with drainage and other potential issues. Adding sand to help with drainage, and also crowning these fields to help shed water. And then the bases, of course, would be reset. I think we feel confident that we can reset those through our department here at the rec park. So as you go through those fields there, myself, Billy Van Hook, who's our local Little League president, and a contractor that we dealt with, Mr. Denny Ledford. Mr. Ledford has spent numerous amount of hours volunteering his time over the past 2 seasons to help Little League and really the schools in general. So we came up with these numbers. I feel confident that these numbers are, we equipped for the worst case scenario. And I feel confident in this budget here that these can take care of some of the major issues that we're facing in some of these local schools. And like I mentioned last week, we understand that this will benefit our local Little League baseball and softball. We understand that. This also benefits our schools by improving these facilities, their PE classes and so forth, and then also the community. If anybody wants to come down and use these facilities, I think improves them for the community use as well. So it's a win-win situation, and we feel confident in that figure there, $7,500, that we can make some major improvements that would help.
Ms. Moffitt or said, to do this, do we need some type of agreement with the school system to do that? Chester? Yes. Okay, we will. And let me ask you another question, the $7,500, I know, I'm not trying to dig into budget stuff, but we're talking about rather than additional money, I know you have maintenance, a maintenance budget. If we, I don't know that we would need to vote for that. Do you have that in your maintenance budget to do this?
I've not had any major issues up to now, so I'm sitting very well in our maintenance line item, so I could cover this in our budget. So we won't need to ask for any additional monies at this time. If something happens and we spend this money, just remember if something, if the lights go out, at the end. But I feel confident that I do have it.
But what we would need to do, though, Paul, we talked about the other day, this is, some of these are county, they're school properties. So all of them are, well, you're right, all these are. So we would need some type of document that just said, hey, you understand where they're going to fix this field.
I'd be happy to contact Mr. Kenny and let him know that this issue be to his attention.
I think they would be quite agree.
I think I'd be very surprised. I know.
Well, I don't think it would be that much longer until they start using it.
No. This is of the utmost importance to get the ball rolling on this pretty quick.
And this is going to work. This gets rid of the root Paul was talking about. This gets rid of drainage issues we're talking about. This gets rid of issues that keep these fields from being good practice, certain practices. Correct. That's correct. Your opinion.
And then you've got two at Colossaga Park. You already take care of that.
Yeah, those are ours.
Yeah.
The fields that we maintain will.
Industrial Park, how many fields have we got? Let's get that out. You got two at Industrial Park, you got two at Colossaga, one at Industrial Park.
The two at Colossaga are basically T-ball fields only, and the one at the Industrial Park is our 7/8 field.
Four at the rec park.
And 4 at the rec park.
So that work will be done by Kenny Baker?
Well, he just more or less provided with his advice as far as the cost associated with that.
Okay, so we're not getting that.
Danny Ledford. Danny's kept it up, he's worked with Seth and them with the Industrial Park, and then last year he did a bunch of free work.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we could have this stuff out, but, I mean, I don't know.
I trust
nobody
his.
does better than Danny.
No, and he's good at it. Plus, I don't think that he's trying to rob us by any means. This is and like we said, I think that we went worst case scenario. If anything, I think this might come in a little less.
So we really don't need to approve the money because you're going to include it in your budget you have now, which we've already approved. I think we would need a motion in a second to authorize Chester to contact the school system and tell them this is what we want to do on their facilities. They'll have to, the school will have to vote. They'll have to approve. I'd place that motion.
Well, and two, this isn't recreational facilities. It is, but it's school facilities, so y'all need to give permission to spend.
Well, there are liability issues on these fields, schools, the liability of these schools.
Yeah.
There's not a question about that. What we're saying here is we're taking responsibility to fix up the school system fields.
Yes.
So I think the liability is still based.
Yeah, we're going to spend our money to fix their things, but we use them.
Which remember, we had a problem with Octo with that one time,
Yes.
so I just remember that. So
Yes.
we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Hager made a motion to propose this to the school system. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Is there any other fields?
Nantahala has one at the rec park. There's also one at the school, but for some reason they don't use it. And Highlands has two. They've got one at the rec park and one one downtown. But we play Little League at the, yeah.
We've got Cullen State School here.
And on that note there, Cullen State School is actually under the lease with the Franklin Archery Club. And those guys have been great to let us use the outdoor space for practices and so forth. We help maintain that during the course of the Little League season. So they've been great in allowing us to do that.
So that, they can practice, play good for practice on that.
That's
field there.
Yeah, that's correct.
T-ball.
No.
Cullen State School can accommodate the older age groups.
Okay.
That's
But
correct.
the eight,
Probably upwards of 9 to 10 as well.
I don't know what I asked you, Joe, Commissioner Tate, your service conditions for that. I don't feel that they're in good shape.
they're in good shape.
They're not nothing that needs attention.
Cali School,
But they're in practice room.
you're gonna use Cali School this year?
That's correct.
Yes.
So it gives about, what, 10, 12 fields?
Overall, that's correct. Probably 10.
Well, I'm glad to see them fix that. And the light, we used them anyway.
We did.
Just want to say,
Yeah,
the
we've had
liability
them.
issue was there.
We've had them for a long time. We've had kids that try to build grounders and it makes some gun shops, because you never know what it
Truth is, the
is
liability
gonna happen.
will be
The liability will be less now.
Yes, it
If it
is.
was a hazard, two of them that would have to make it.
And if we can justify, as we said, spending the budget, I think the justification is that if someone were injured on those fields, if they're playing on a, a league sanctioned by the county, endorsed by the county, Mr. Moffitt scheduled field, who's the employee of the county, I think there's potential for liability from the county's part. So it's in our best interest to pick these bills up.
Yeah.
Policy to start with, it's just making.
Well, and the league, if they're operating under the league's umbrella, they're covered by their insurance. So it would go to them too. Anywhere you have an organized practice, it could be in somebody's backyard. It's deemed a practice, but something also in that letter. Once we get these fixed up, you can fix them up this summer, but by next summer, the kids playing on them, they could be back in some different shapes. So we need to kind of figure out a way to keep them at the level that we're going to make them.
And I was going to say, Chester, why don't we write some language in there that doesn't put a specific dollar figure, but just some general language that the county accepts general responsibility for maintaining the level. If we fix them up to this year, I'm not sure exactly how to say that.
That's the safe.
So we're going to maintain them?
But-
Or will,
No, if we,
Chairman, from a legal standpoint as well as a budgeting standpoint, it is probably best for us to take this a year at a time, to tell the truth. Otherwise, I think it may create some issues for LoRes.
and I thought, as I said, that if there was a major issue came up,
yeah. I would just like to, and we've spoken with the new superintendent. He seems a little more geared this way. He sees the importance of keeping this outdoor space back up. But we need to get them up to that level, but then maybe they can maintain them a little bit better than what.
But your point's well taken, is to just stay ahead so it doesn't get
yeah.
to
Yes.
this point again.
Exactly.
So, but I think that could be done on a year-by-year basis, and I think it'd be.
I just don't let this go. I mean, if he says going to spend $7,500 worth of his budget, to get him up hard, we don't want to let him go after that. The way we write that in $300, just so we have a general understanding of anything feels he looks at.
You need to remind whoever the board is every year about this in your budget for the county. We don't want these fields to go out there.
No.
Gentlemen, we got a motion and second to enter into an agreement with the school system. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Moffitt. Thank you, Commissioner Gates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That one,
If you have copies of that for the media, you have them, yeah. Moffitt.
You want one?
Hold on mine.
We need two more. Pick them up and send them.
The other issue is as far as the park members facility, Seth, you want to speak to that?
We have been going round and round about this for 2 years now. We have done all the planning. We have gave y'all numbers and figures and gave you options. It is now time, if we're going to start planning on there pretty soon, to get the ball rolling. So I'm coming tonight asking, what says the board? What direction do y'all want to take?
Lori, I'd ask, Commissioner Hagan had asked about the fund balance issue, if we chose to do more than the grant part of the funds. What is the status? Give us a little information, possibly a recommendation as far as you want to take that. What information do you have?
I took a look at our fund balance, kind of based on, of course, today's numbers. Looked at 5-year historical general fund expenditures as a percentage of budget. Looked at a 5-year of fund balance and trying to look at it when we actually used 2 over the 5 years, so took an average of 2 years. So I applied those percentages to current budget and current fund balance appropriated. In doing that, my projection is that we'll end this fiscal year, and assuming no changes to current budget and or no changes to fund balance appropriated, which you know more than likely will have amendments to the matching budget. But based on today, roughly 32.74%.
So the fund balance is 32% of budget.
32.75. That's your estimated fund balance available as a percentage of estimated expenditures.
Total dollars. We can't go below the 25 mark, so. Well, no, we can. We can, but we'd have to set the precedent that other boards have already put in place. If we, what percent, Lord, if we, let's just, all right, let's back up. Gotta ask you something about this privately, just full disclosure. If what we're talking about is if we do the entire project, what wasn't included in that is, I think you said you budgeted everything or got quotes and everything, you thought it was a little bit high as far as the, so maybe there's a contingency in there.
Yes.
But
Possibly, but not guaranteed.
But that's not, there's not a contingency
No.
listed, so, and I asked Lori about that, if we consider total budget, what are we talking about as far as if you do a contingency with the whole?
Well, it depends on, what was your number, Seth? Right at 3 million, it's going to 2.9.
It was 2.995,315.
We'll call it 3 million. So, you know, the board needs to determine if you want to build in contingency. I don't believe that includes engineering fees.
That the engineering will be covered in the contingency.
If we put a contingency.
Yeah, if you put a contingency.
Did you get a number on
Did you get a
that?
number?
We are still,
Well, actually, I'm working towards having a meeting with him next week. He had actually contacted me about the project today, and I'm supposed to meet with him next week with him. We have an agreement with him currently to perform certain engineering services, but not to the level that would be needed for the full project to be done. Primarily focused more towards the grading.
through the
So-
awarding bid of the grading.
There will be a need to have discussion with him to try to determine what sort of additional expense in addition to what we already paid for that we might be looking at. Depending on what that number comes in, we may be in a situation where we have to advertise a request for proposals for engineers in general in order to accomplish that. We'll know more after we speak. Have we start to get this? We have the ability to exempt, I believe, up to $50,000. But after that, I believe it has to be a request for proposal. It used to be we could exempt any project for action, but the legislature changed that. They were limited to projects where the design work would be.
So the 3 million does not include, I mean, that's not considered part of the grant, so that would come off that. So if you add a contingency to it,
3.2 million, you take the part of, off that, makes it 2.7. Is that,
Yeah, if you're saying 200,000 people, like, again, it's not even construction, it's 10% of it.
10%, I think,
That's
is,
kind of standard.
I think is a fairly standard number.
So you get 3.3 million, that's 10%.
You take 5 bands as part of it.
2.8.
And that's a fair question.
What would be appropriate contingency?
Contingency
Because
for this type of job.
It's a different project, you have a lot
It
of
really
money
is.
involved. It's not.
There are-
You should tell him what contingency's not asking.
There are other options, possibly having somebody doing the building side of it, and then him do the
And those
the
are all
grants.
things that need to be explored with him. Honestly, understanding how to best structure the process.
So in real dollars, 32% of these is what?
$4, it's 14,585,000.
25% you got that handy?
That
25% would be, 25% would be personal 11,885,000.
That's our bottom right
so if we finance the entire project out of fund balance, it's gonna bring us down pretty close.
25%.
About, right, if we pay cash for the whole thing. it's
No,
gonna
we're
bring us
not.
Okay, and speak to that?
Just in light of, we've already dropped from 42% to 33% within one fiscal year, which is 9%. If you drop from 33 to 25 in another year, that's 8%, that's 17% in 2 years. If you consider the county's credit rating, from a rating agency perspective, they look at trends, financial indicators and trends, and then you look at reevaluation horizon. So, of course, the rating agency is looking at you to go out to that market and look at your company, your tax base is growing, fund balance is just growing.
So you wouldn't recommend paying for the entire project, that would go about something in the middle of the part of it is fund balance, part of it, I'm not asking you to give a figure of it, but is that something you think would be more reasonable to do?
Is that definitely more reasonable?
Comments? Fund balance,
It's not a whole lot, to tell you. I'd like to make this statement to you, Seth. I appreciate what you're doing, trying out everything you can. Bring that up here. This would be really nice for our county to have. Really would. And I'd love to see that too. But I sit up here in the middle of the people who plays and the people who pays. Now, if you don't understand what I mean by that, our budget went up in 3 years, $40 million before the seven something last year. And I ain't gonna look out there and see if it's making no money.
Well, all that was true expense, Steve. I mean, the Lord can explain what increasing those volumes pass through, and we never had happened. Our budget is.
Well, what I'm getting at is, I've got to try to see if we can get the best deal for cheaper out of the pay. I won't have to work with the calculator.
so what would you,
I think the
recommend?
statement that I made to you was, as if we could afford it, let's see if it's exactly the word I said, if we could afford it, pay for that out of the fund balance up front. That's what I'm looking for. That's the word I said. I don't want to look at all these numbers and study that, because I've got a feeling that next year after that budget, next year after that rebound, there's gonna be an increase in taxes these little people behind around here. That's my thought. I don't know, maybe wrong, but I'm going the other way and I always have. Keep this budget as low as possible. And I heard Kim say something like that. I really think, I want us to have the best we can. I think we got good services in this town. We've got a good county. I love living here. But I won't be able to afford something. I want to back ourselves in there for us these people out here that's trying to make a living. Can't afford to pay the taxes, we can't afford that. I just take that into consideration.
And let me say that, I think we're all in agreement with that. We've said in our board retreat that none of us were in favor of a tax increase. And I'll say this, as far as reval, I personally, and I think everybody on this board would say that we're not for using reval to increase taxes at all.
No, I know we're not.
I think
we are.
I think the reval will simply revalue the property. It will revalue person A's property as opposed to person B's property. There will not be a tax increase associated with that as far as I'm concerned. I will not vote for anything that raises the taxes on the people, reval or not. So I think we're in total agreement. We're in 100% agreement with that. That's, to me, that's
Maybe I should have looked at it, and we've all been looking at where this is shifted from the Texas. I mean, we started that with Lincoln, Raleigh, we sat down and they talked about it to us. And they're talking about people who live in $150,000 homes or less down to just a single lot and house rate. Once in about 30 homes. And I guess we're every one of them in suspense on wondering what's happening. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about it, I'm shaking like $2 ladder over it. I won't see Bridges taxes increase. And I want to see that ballpark and recognition a lot more than anybody sees it. I want to be able to know that this is not going to put something in there that's going to be $1 next year. And taxes going up. And that's all right. If I'm secure on that, my mind's okay.
I'll tell you, I will vote for a tax increase.
Well, I'll not leave it, I'll go past.
Any kind of tax increase associated with reval?
That, I will vote for revenue neutral, but as far as reval.
And that's going to, there's only tax increases.
Tax increases, tax decreases.
Right, I mean, Richard, for that, because you're gonna have some people tax, if you keep a revenue neutral budget, I'm saying I will.
That will require tax increases.
And tax decrease. And
It'll be some of both, actually.
I'm saying,
Some of both.
what I'm saying,
Tax
I
rate,
will not vote for a tax rate that raises the county overall revenue. What I will vote for when that time comes is revenue neutral tax rate or less.
Because I was concerned earlier, yeah, there will be a tax increase associated with revenue with reval. But you're saying you're going to try to maintain revenue neutral.
Correct. That we have from the.
Well, that's what it's saying. I understand that. I mean, I understand very much that.
And Ron, you're talking about, you know, if you finance the entire amount of this project, you're talking about, what is it, 100, semi-annual
The
payments.
payment, the first year payment will be about $335,000, 10-year loan on the place on 2.7. By the way, the 2.4.
I don't have it here, what is see total interest rate calculation?
$351,000.
That's to finance the whole thing.
That's to be financed 2.7 million over a 10-year term and 2.48%. Of course, that 2.48 is just an estimate. You don't know until you go out to market and the market conditions.
What, I'll tell you where I am with this thing. I said last time I've been supporting this project since we started talking about it 2 years ago. Because we need the athletic facilities for our citizens, just like we need the facilities for our folks. Second is the economic impact. Which is an estimated $6 to $8 million per year, which I would say again for the record, I think is low. I think that estimate's low, just figuring based on spending $150 per player per tournament. I've played tournaments for years. As we said earlier, there's no way you can go play a 2-day tournament and spend $150.
So those figures are low, but $6 to $8 million based on that. You won't realize that unless you build the entire facility. If you build 2 fields, that's not gonna happen. So, I'm for moving ahead with the entire project. I probably, myself, I agree with Ron. I think if we could do it, I think it would be good to pay for the entire project out of fund balance. And let's remember, guys, that's not our money. That's money the taxpayers have already paid. That's not a future tax. You're not raising tax. That's tax that people have already paid. So what we spend out of fund balance, I think we have to decide is that money better spent? And Lori, I know I'm bad to do this to you, but about what interest rate is that money, just ballpark, about what interest rate is that money getting that we have on the top?
Very little.
Just ballpark, throw out a figure, something.
Some of it earns 0.25%.
0.25%.
Some maybe up to a range of maybe 0.60. That's kind of a range of 0.25%.
So let's say 0.5% interest. So I think the question in my mind as a taxpayer, I'm gonna take off my commissioner hat, and I'm a taxpayer too. I pay taxes on my building next door, my house, I pay a lot of taxes. So my question is, the money I've already paid in taxes, is that better earning 0.5% interest, or is it better spent put into a project that's gonna bring in $6 to $8 million? That's a huge return. That money that's on deposit is bringing us very little. Now, if we were in an environment where we were earning 10, 12%, we go back to the mid-80s, but we're not in the mid-80s. We're 2014, and we're earning 0.5% interest on that. So I would be for appropriating, I guess I don't, wouldn't say I disagree with Lord, but I would, rather than not do the project, I would be for appropriating the entire amount out of fund balance, because I think it's better spent on a project that's going to bring a huge return to this county than it is sitting in the bank account earning 0.5% interest. That's bringing us nothing. And I can look at every taxpayer, including myself. I go home and look at the mirror and say that's good business decision. But at the same time, I respect Lori's opinion, so I guess I'm coming down to somewhere in the middle. If we would consider appropriating $1 million out of the fund balance, and that would leave 1.8 to finance, and Ron, that would bring your financing figure down from $350,000 to probably 286. Okay, I would say 250. And another part of this equation is if you do this thing, I think you have to decide, okay, if you don't want to do it all, just leave that property sitting there. That's just, don't spend any money. Send the part of the money back and not do anything. Now, that's certainly a decision we can make. But if we're going to work toward a completed project out there, we've already seen the figures where we're going to save about $400,000 minimum just in grading and lighting by doing the entire project. So you have to weigh. If you don't want to do the project at all, then you don't go. You want to do it? No. But if you want to do it, it makes more sense to do the entire thing, because you're going to save a tremendous amount of money by not having this thing piecemeal and done over 5 years or several years. And then the fact that you will have, if you do the whole thing, by this time next year, you will have had a season of planting on the field. And that economic impact will be realized. So I think for all kinds of reasons, it makes sense to do the entire project. And I'd recommend using some fund balance. I agree with Commissioner Hagan. If we do the whole thing out of fund balance, I would be in favor of that. But I've got to respect Lori's opinion. We need to respect her opinion or send it to the House. I respect her opinion not to spend the whole thing. It doesn't bring our fund balance down right at the threshold. We don't know what the future brings. We don't know what rebound is going to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I would be for funding part of that fund balance.
Yeah, we're just going to get the ball rolling. We can discuss the amount more, but I'll go ahead and make a motion that we move forward with Parks and Meadows for approximately 2.7.
2.8, 10%.
3.3 part of the grants.
And what Kevin's just mentioned there, is 1 million from fund balance, and finance and the rest. We have a second, and we can move on to discussion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that sets the budget on the project at 3.3 based on Seth's figures and adding 10%. Be clear about that. Subtracting the $500,000 part of the grant that we've already received, that would leave 2.8 million to fund the project. Commissioner Tate's motion would be to take $1 million from our fund balance and to finance the additional 1.8 million to fund the entire project. Is that fair? Okay. We have a motion and a second to that end. Discussion.
How much is the payment going to a month for doing that?
A year.
Oh,
Well, if you did that, or what would the approximate annual payment on that be? You need 1.8.
So probably want to look at 10 year.
Would be a 10-year,
Well, you take a percentage of the loan and the percentage of
your fixed part would be then interest.
our total financing cost would be approximately $260,000 over 10 years. By using a billion.
Well, let me ask you this, how much debt are we going to be dropping off with this fiscal year?
1.2 million,
That comes off of our total debt level.
right?
what is our total debt now? County debt?
Total county debt moving into next year is 43.7 million. Principal and interest combined. And we are dropping off 1.2 million, like you said, but of course, keep in mind that the past few years' budgets have relied on fund balance. We don't have enough revenue to cover everything we need. Current year, we appropriated 2.1 million or 4.5% of our $47 million budget. And that covered ambulances, sheriff's vehicles, IT needs, vehicles, et cetera.
Schools.
Yeah, schools current
Schools is the biggest
expense.
thing.
Yeah, school current expense. So, just keep that in mind, that we're already appropriating fund balance on an annual basis to cover those type of things. And those aren't just one-time capital. You're gonna need ambulances, and sheriff's vehicles. The schools on the same, probably at same levels.
Or what,
more.
financing 2.7 million that you had, I didn't bring it very good. What was the annual payment on that?
The first payment was like $335. I don't have the whole hand schedule.
Is that annual?
It's gonna drop a little each year. It's
Right.
270 fixed principal and then your interest.
So that's about, we're
First
we're
year
actually
was
financing
335.
around about 66% of what was on there. So if you take, what was the payment?
335.
335, and this is everything else being equal, your annual payment would be 220, 221, 222, ballpark. Is that reasonable? I'm just taking it.
But
Yeah,
I don't have an M.
We didn't ask
hand
for-
schedule calculator in front of me, so.
Well, then you will have to go to local government commission.
Sure will.
Is that part of your motion, Mr. Tate, to give Roy the authority to proceed with that?
So what's the good one?
And I'll take it that way.
All right, other discussion.
Seth, I appreciate what you've done, and Justin and Michael, well, I like Mike, I give him more time, we should share. I appreciate what you've done, man. And the reason I can't support this, you know that, this is no secret. That's what I ran on, was not increasing the cost of the government, not increasing the size of government. And what we're discussing here is not a youth sports complex or everything for youth. We're talking about the second recreational park with walking trails, multi-use sports, canoe put-ins, all the amenities that go with it. There will be some benefit to the youth. What Justin, you guys have done, I've advocated ever since I've gone to sport, let's fix what we got. 12 fields for little kids, for the youth to get out there and play on practice. But I don't think it's a good time to deal. We're still in an economic recession. I mean, times are hard. Ron Hayden mentioned it. We've got a revow coming up, and most people in this room, you are going to get a tax increase. We live in modest homes. Modest homes have not gone down in value. You're going to get about $100 for every $100,000 of value on your property. That's what you're going to be paying more, about $100 more a year. Utilities are at an all-time high. Everybody I've talked to, their utility bills $300, $500, $700. Fuel prices are up, food's up, cost of living's up. It's going to cost us at least, with everything, probably $200,000 a year to operate this thing from now on. We're increasing the employees. We're increasing the size of the government. I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, it's a great idea. But we find good ideas so long that I think that's the reason we're in this recession that we're in. Good ideas will break you back every time. But there's nothing personal about any of this. I appreciate your vigor. That's what you're hired to do. And I appreciate that, Justin, and all you guys. I appreciate what you've done. But I just can't support it in this current economic condition. And I know these gentlemen, we all have different opinions on this board. That's great. That's good for the board making. But I will have to vote no based on all the parameters I mentioned.
And Paul, I would disagree with anything you said about the economy. If we had to raise taxes to do this, I would not vote for it. If I had to see that we would have to raise taxes down the road to vote for it, to do it, I would not vote for it. But we can do this out of our current money and finance the rest at 2.4%. And all the numbers, and I've run this every way in the world, I've looked at this as a taxpayer, and that's a better return on my tax money and the county taxpayers than leave it in the bank. And the $6 to $8 million minimum is to bring in an additional revenue. If you take if you just take the sales tax off that, it's more than they'll pay. What it's going to cost the county for this. So for that reason, I support.
Speaking of that, if I were in my private business, if I were going to invest $3 million, and I appreciate everybody's come, the supporters have been here and they've given us numbers. Economic Development Commissioner, he's given us numbers. Everybody's given us numbers. But if I were going to invest $3 million in my private business, I'd certainly visit some of these other counties. I know what's happening in Cherokee. A good friend of mine's on the planning board, and we've all bragged about how Cherokee's doing all this thing. They'd love to get rid of that thing. But if I were going to invest in my private business, I'd hit 3 or 4 different counties. I'd get some hard facts. Some hard facts, not just, oh, it's going to generate 2 million, 6 million, 10 million. I mean, I'd get some hard facts, and you may have them. You might have visited these.
So I feel like Seth's done that. I'll tell you something else I did. I talked to folks in Sevier County, Tennessee. They did this kind of thing several years ago, and it's bringing in millions of dollars, continues to bring in millions of dollars. In addition to that, I was just over there and visiting. They're just beginning to build. Not only they already have a softball type thing, they're building a facility called Rocky Top in Gatlinburg, and they're building gymnasiums for basketball and volleyball tournaments. And they've run the numbers, and they're convinced, and they're building it. They've already voted to do it. The city and the county have gone together and funded it, and it's a lot more expensive. I think it was over $30 million that they're spending for that they just started. And they're mid-project right now. To do the same thing with volleyball and basketball that we're talking about doing with baseball and softball. So I agree with you, Paul. I think anything you do is certainly speculation. There's no guarantee that other people have done this and been successful and continue to be successful. You have other counties like Sevier County, which is right across the hill, are continuing to invest money and just bringing money back to their community. So I think it's better than leaving the money sitting in the bank earning 0.5%.
It's going to be beneficial not only to our youth, but to our community. but I,
40-some odd years ago, Seth, it took the board to take a step out to build the recreation park that you still, that somebody said, the only really thing we've done for it is improve the pool that was disgraced. So, this is something we can be proud of. 40 years from now, they'll still be talking about this project, I really believe that. And it does a lot more than just for our youth and just for tournaments, it's going to help our local folks. The senior citizens can't wait.
Yeah.
You know that, I know that. So it's going to benefit the folks from Macon County. If it benefits them economically, yeah, that's even a plus.
and one other thing, Ron, and Ron Haven, now you talk about listening to the people, and I've done that.
I would say that, as far as my personal experience, over 90% of the people that I talk to or have talked to are in favor of us doing this entire project. Over 90%. I've had very, very few people say this is a bad idea. It's a bad time. It won't work. I've had very, very few people say that to me. So if we're listening to the people, now, we are or we're not, but the people that talk to me are in favor of this. And so I'm going to vote to move forward. Call for question. We have a call for question. Sir, forward.
May I make just a comment to the request? Okay, if you guys approve this tonight, then we have to start making contacts with the local government officials, all right? Okay, there's a letter that has to be sent to this new commission when they're going to the LOC 45 days before their meeting date. Well, to get on their meeting schedule, you have to have your application in 30 days before they meet. So anyway, trying to put all these dates in place, we're probably looking at being on the May agenda for LGC. That's kind of.
Ben says he can work us in quickly if we can get the stuff to him, but he can have big domain.
So looking at May, let's say we could get it done in May and close a loan in May. I know you guys are leaning towards appropriating $1 million fund balance. As we go through this process, we'll be bringing back resolutions for you to approve to move through the process. And I'll have to bring a capital project ordinance, which will lay out our financing sources, right? Would you guys be okay with, probably going to be, June possibly, I guess, construction will start, just kind of lay things out, of maybe transferring half of that money out of general fund to the capital project fund in the current budget, and then doing the other half next. I mean, at least that way,
You're not going to need it.
you're not hitting it
It's a hard
so
one.
hard in 1 year,
Great
because
idea.
you're going to be so close to year end.
That's why we
that
did the
there's
school
no
review again.
sense to dump
We did the same
money
thing
and
with
just
the
let
So
it
you
sit
do,
there.
you actually do the fund balance appropriation over 2 fiscal years.
Right.
Good idea, great idea. Same thing we did.
That actually allows us to get started.
Would you accept that amendment? You accept that?
Oh, yes.
Well, we won't get started until we kind of have all the pieces in place, but I'm just saying, if we start construction in June, you're not going to have need to hold, 3.3 million with all the different various sources, so just helps.
And let me just say, I think
To
it's-
get that far in one fiscal year.
I think, Chester, it's implied in the motion that we do all the things necessary to proceed with the entire project, and that would include going back to the part of folks and saying, hey, we're going to do this whole thing.
Yeah, that's it.
You mentioned that last meeting. I think that's implied here. We need to say that. We need to say it.
I think it is, a lot of
Okay.
positive implied, and I think between your county manager and Seth and Matt, we can get that to them, and likewise, get the ball rolling on what needs to be done, if anything further as far as the request proposal for engineering services. I would recommend that you let us at least get that process started if it needs to be started. We'll
And I
talk
think,
with Mr. LaVoy.
and Lori, I think too, just for clarity, whatever makes financial sense, you have a $500,000 part of grant, you have a $1 million appropriation of fund balance, chances are we're not going to need the funds from the loan until later. Does that make sense? So I think it'd be implied in that too, that we would do that the way we make the most sense we can.
Of course, local government commission, as you go through them, they're going to have bids in hand. So we just got to get all these, all
Any other discussion? None, call the question. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Next item, attorney fee and expenses for agreement with the tax collection work. Chester, I think you
That'd be with the county manager.
Yes, sir. We got with Richard Leitner and took, he did our county attorney after the last meeting. We got with Mr. Leitner, made he got with Ridenhour and Goss, they made the changes that, had been requested from our county attorney after the last meeting. And the only change that we recommended that wasn't exactly what we had requested was they didn't necessarily put a not to exceed amount on there. Instead, they put a range of amounts starting with a simple tax proceeding to a complicated tax proceeding. And these range from, on the simple end, $200 to $1,200, depending on, it could just be a letter that gets that ball rolling and cancels that process out. But in the more complicated cases, they had a range of $5,000 plus. But as part and parcel of that, we had also requested that Mr. Leitner get an idea of where he was going in some of the cases that he felt would produce the results the fastest. And he has done that. There is a line item in his budget, contracted legal services. There's $5,000 in that line item. So that again has been appropriated to him. And we feel at this time, after looking at it, I went over it with Lori. Chester's seen the changes, and I would recommend to the board that we move forward with allowing Mr. Leitner to do that, and we will monitor that line item and report back to you on how things are going.
I've authorized the county manager to execute that.
we have a motion to do what Derek said. The second. I think so, second. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
You're happy, Chester, now that answers the, by the, it wouldn't just be unlimited by the hour and.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is that department's gonna need to just kind of keep an eye on what they're spending. And between that department and Lori, I think we can keep an eye on that.
As long as we're not spending more than we can.
That's right, that's all they.
Yeah, and I think it was wise on the part of the county manager to speak with the tax assessor from the standpoint of, let's look at those that pay dividends. There's some of those collections that quite frankly are private properties. And there is value of cleaning that up and getting that back in and taxes coming in, but it's not going to pay a new. Well, chances are you're going to spend more getting to it.
Yeah, there's some chronic abuse out there too.
There's no question you've got some situations that should they very quickly with the property.
Well, you hope this, and I take good money.
All right, gentlemen, we have motion to second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Derek? Proceed, please, sir.
Thanks, Derek.
Very much. We also had some discussion last meeting with regards to tree removal by Appalachian Tree.
Two things, I think one concern was that the trees were in the right of way, or could potentially be in that road right of way down there. I contacted Stacy Guppy down there, and he went out and looked into that. The trees are not in the right of way; they're 100% on.
They're on county property.
On county property. Also, we had again Appalachian Tree had said they would perform the services for free. We wanted to enter into an agreement with Appalachian Tree Services to see, for them to exactly spell out their services and maybe put a time limit on that due to the fact that, that is one of the fields that we just discussed that the Little League Baseball will be practicing on. And so time is of the essence there to accomplish that. And so, in doing all that, Stacy has sent some information, including Appalachian trees, insurance, and workman's comp information to myself. I then have forwarded that to the county attorney, and Stacy, the county attorney, and myself are going to have a dialogue and hopefully get an agreement as soon as.
I think it will, from the standpoint of activity of that nature taking place on the property.
We're going to ask you for that now.
No, sir. We'll have, hopefully, we'll have that agreement for you tomorrow.
All right.
There was a handful of details that Derek and I need to still run down yet.
Okay.
In order to memorialize this.
That's disposed of the county property.
Basically, it is to some degree. I mean, it can certainly be looked at.
And we had one item that was added, what was that?
The appointment to
The appointment, right, sorry. Commissioner Bill, do you want to address that? This was the appointment.
Well, before I do that, can I step back just a minute, if you'll give me just a minute, Mr. Chairman? I did receive a email today, and I'm sorry I didn't make copies. You know, we had a request about the swing set that was brought, and I did get an email today, a letter from Mr. Bill Dyer, and I'd like to read that letter, if you don't mind. I'm sorry I didn't bring this up earlier. Dear Commissioner Bill, we had, as liaison to the Cali School, we had asked them about that. If you remember, the letter came in that we donate, that they consider donating that swing set to let me express gratitude on behalf of the Macon County Heritage Center and the Cali School Advisory Board. The Macon County Board of Commissioners continues to support the efforts of the school. Without that support, we would not have been able to serve the 2,200 people who visited and took part in activities in the school last year. At the appropriate time, I would like to share that information and other accomplishments at the Heritage Center of the Board of Commissioners. In response to the inquiry about the donation of playground equipment at Cali School, the advisory committee is of the consensus that the long metal swing set in the field in front of the school should be donated for use by the autistic children at middle grade school to be dedicated to the former teacher, Ms. Catherine Flynn. We and the county made a commitment to provide play and recreation opportunities at Cali School. The remaining equipment in the playground fulfills that obligation. Thank you again for your support and for this opportunity to be good community neighbors. So with that, I don't know if we need a motion to that, to make that donation to them.
I think you would have to do that, because that would be declaring that property.
Actually, I think it's going to require a resolution. If you
Sure.
like, I can have that ready for you all.
That'd be great. I mean, whatever it takes. And can they go ahead and get the swing set?
Technically, we probably should wait.
Technically, can we go ahead and get the swing set? They need the
That
swing set.
depends on whether you have a crystal ball.
Somebody might
and we'll-
borrow it for
whether
an
or
extended
not
period of time.
you'll have a majority on the.
Is there a consensus of the board that it's okay to give the swing set for that purpose? All of it. I think go ahead and let them have it, and because you have a resolution at 5 West Main Street next month, we'll approve that.
You're letting them try it out.
Yeah, they're borrowing. We'll let them borrow.
That's right. This is an experience. So thank you.
It's okay.
We'll make that.
This is going where?
To the, to
Yeah,
make,
I will make that.
make the minutes. If we look at making minutes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Does the school board know that it's coming?
Do not know that. They will shortly.
I will let them know.
We will call it in the morning and tell them to expect one.
That's a good thing.
Okay,
Tell
thank
them
you.
we're gonna let them borrow it for a month, like Paul said, until we approve it for the month.
Okay, thank you.
Now
I'm
we
sorry,
have-
I let that slip, I'm sorry.
We have the, issue the appointment.
But what this is, gentlemen, if you know back, that MPP at Orchard View, that we worked for several years with LoRes. LoRes had those apartments, and when they was to change it, they become property and a management property of MPP for the Orchard View apartments. So, and on the board, it is required that you have somebody with financial background. Stan Jeffries has stepped down from that board. Bobby Sanders has applied. If you don't know Bobby, he is the head commercial lender and of credit at Macon Bank. Bobby's a young man with children, and he's willing to be a part of this, and you have to have those skills. You need somebody in credit and finance on that board. So with that, what we'd like to go ahead and read on the brain tonight, gentlemen, at a short notice is this board needs to meet, I think in March, for some paperwork. They have their own attorney, so with that, I'd like to make the motion that we appoint Bobby Sanders to the MPP Apartment Orchard View Oversight Body to MPP.
Do we have a second to that motion? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Gentlemen, that's all that I had on the agenda, unless there's something additional to come before the board. Hearing nothing, we do have our county manager has requested a closed session due to North Carolina General Statute 143.13.1A6 personnel. Is that correct? So we need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Derek, do you anticipate any action to come out of that?
No, we have like 28 seconds before that.
Thank you, everybody.